So basically our focus is to help faculty implement technology in the classroom. And we really look to do that in meaningful ways. And we are research-based, so we look at what's happening out there in the research and we follow that technology implementation up with best practices. And digital pedagogies that we assist you with. What we did today is part of our team, we have a lot of expertise within our division, and we really have a variety of technologies that cross a big broad stroke, where you can start from the basic level and start to move up into some really innovative, advanced technologies. So we basically cover it all. And we're here today to kind of give you a quick snapshot of each technology. So we have a number of stations that are lined up behind me. And we're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of giving you a quick overview of every technology, kind of like a speed dating, if you will. And you're going to learn a quick overview, and then we're going to break up, and you can basically go to each table and work hands-on with that technology. So just to introduce our tables, at the first table we have something called Kaltura Video, which is integrated into Blackboard. And it's a very, very easy video tool that gives you great high impact and kind of that just-in-time learning that your students need in the classroom. The second table here is our Pride Desktop, which is VDI. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. You probably hear that term flying around. And we're also going to introduce our new EdTech mobile app. The next station over here is Blackboard. So Blackboard has two new features. One is the attendance tracking system, and the other one is voice grading. So two really neat new features. We're also going to show you our new online learning template, and that's kind of this new, easy navigation tool for your online courses that has, again, a better visual look and feel to it. And then, sorry, what's my voice? Over in the last table, that's our kind of cool, dazzling, innovative team, where they're going to be showing you some AR and VR. So AR stands for augmented reality, and VR stands for virtual reality. And they have the Oculus, and you can put one on and try it out. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to the first team. And that's Carrie Crocco, Joe Zona, and Paul Carson. And they're going to show you Kaltura Video and our snazzy green screen as well behind it. Hi.
So, video. We've all been using video for years. Ready this? We've been using video for all these years in our instruction, and it's been good, right? It's something engaging for our students to see. We have opportunities to show our personality. We have all sorts of ways to represent the content that we're teaching. So Kaltura Media has been around supporting that for a couple of years now. And with all of the years of development, we've got some nice integration with our Blackboard LMS. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and a little about a few of the bells and whistles that they've been developing to make it even better for us. So yeah, here we are. Standard classroom video is part of the deal. And the reason we include it is because our students interact so meaningfully with it. And what Kaltura Media does is allow us to use this video immediately within our LMS system. So there's a quick interactive kind of process that allows us not to have to dig deeply into any file system. There's actually a My-Media library immediately available right in Blackboard. That media system actually translates any of the videos into formats that can be viewed on any device. So our phones, our computers, our tablets, our Chromebooks, whatever it is, we don't need to worry about what our students are using. We are certain that they'll be able to view whatever content be accessible to all students. So one of the bells and whistles that Hofstra has developed recently is a captioning tool. It's very easy for you as a user to use. When you download a video into your library, you literally just tap or type in caption ASR into one of the tag fields, and the next day, a closed caption video is available for you. It's the future, Marty. So, how else does how else does Kaltura take it up a notch? Well, we have some video quizzing options as well. Watching video can be a completely passive experience. The video quizzing option actually allows us to be an active learning experience for students, and Paul's going to tell us a little bit about how that works.
Thank you. The quizzing option is interactive. You don't want your students to just sit there and look at your video, you want them to do something. So in Blackboard, you can click on my media up in the top corner. This will take you to the Kaltura tool. And once in the tool, you can add video quiz. This isn't really meant to be a full tutorial. This is meant to be a 30-second look at it. Click, click, click. And so you would just launch a video quiz, and you can either select a video that you have already, or at this point upload a video. And then the tool lets you here select a time point in the video, and scrub through it, find exactly where you want to put a question. You can't really use this for a quiz in the sense of this is going to be great for the course, but you can use it for self-check, and you can also use it just to see who's still watching the video at this point. Right? They have to answer the question to move on, so you can see who clicked through the video.
Yep.
And now I'm handing this off to
Pass it over to Joe, actually, real quick. It's really good.
This is just talking about how we can use that interactively immersive technology. Oh yeah, it's going to Joe next.
Joe, that's good.
We all want to get in on this microphone.
Thank you. So if you didn't already think your students were classes to their phones, this is to help them class themselves in their phones. So one of the things Kaltura can do, among other things, is make it very easy to access videos, and not just standard or three-dimensional videos, but also something called 360 video, which basically is this. So it allows you to upload a video called a 360 video, which is essentially just what it sounds like, where you can thumb through it and kind of look around. It's a very immersive experience. So later on, we're going to actually show you how to generate this content. It requires a certain type of camera, of course, which we have. So it's kind of a nice way to say, for instance, have a student visit someplace they couldn't ordinarily visit, to admire or to immerse themselves in ways they couldn't ordinarily do before. So we'll show you how to do it. Kaltura supports it. It's just this question adding a little tag to the video. You embed this into your course. They can access it to their phone, or their iPad, whatever it may be. So it's just a nice option to have for your teaching. Now we'll talk about leading the elements.
Okay, everybody, so you're going to our LMS system, and Rose Tirada will show you our newest Blackboard template. And this is really a start from our online learning that we've been working with Terry on. It's kind of a new lift for online at the university, and listening to the request from the faculty, which was to kind of make it better kind of visually appeal the course, and also utilize technologies that are very easy to use where they don't have a very steep learning curve. We kind of created an assembly of technologies that help faculty quickly put up a course. And part of this was also revamping the Blackboard template. So again, we tried to get a better look and feel, and particularly a better navigation so that you and the students can see where your assignments are, your schedules are, week by week, assignments and content are. So Rose is going to show you how to do that. Quickly, I know.
So we wanted to create a professional and clean look, as Laura has mentioned, and also to make it similar across different courses in a program. So the student coming in would kind of know where to go each and every time they start and some various points where the student can make sure that they're ready for the course. So this is all part of that template, and we can record you, your introduction video, in our Mason recording studio as well, and we can help you with that video editing piece of it, and you can do all that for your We also have a course outline, a course calendar, so once the students come in, they'll be able to see this on a regular basis. Every time they come in, they would see this screen, and this is the hope is to kind of get rid of all those questions about what does this do, what should I be doing this week, what content you cover this week. So we'll get rid of all those questions, and you can focus on your content questions. We also have PowerPoint templates, and we can edit them as different programs and different courses come on the new template. And then we encourage every week the faculty member to provide short bursts of content and communication within themselves, between themselves and the students, and then various types of assessments. And what we've done here is we've created or put together, as Laura has mentioned, a variety of types of technologies for each piece of that, ranging from very simple to a little bit more technologically difficult, depending on your not only what you're looking for, but also your skill level and what you feel like it'd be most comfortable for you to use. And inside every Blackboard template, hidden from students, is a just-in-time resource guide for you. So if you're at 2 o'clock in the morning and you need something, you forgot how to do something, you can go here, or you can wait till the morning. You can give us a call, you can email us, or set an appointment. We're always looking to hang out with you guys and support you in any way.
Okay, so again, we're going to introduce Monica and Catherine, and Monica's going to show us the Blackboard brand new attendance tracking tool, which is amazing. And then Catherine will follow with the voice grade option in Blackboard.
Hi everyone. Very simple. This past summer, Blackboard has a couple of changes. One of them is now attendance tools completely integrated within the course menu. You can see that in the course tools section. When you get into the attendance, you can see a picture of all your students. If they have one picture already uploaded, you will see them. You can identify them very quickly. If you have large classes, that's definitely a good way to do that. You can mark them absolutely late, excuse for any sort of reasons. And then all of this will be simply integrated also into the grade center for you. That's not to happen.
Thank you. So another nice new feature is the audio and video feedback for the students. It's a great way to connect with the students and also good for complex feedback. And the students can listen to the video over and over again or audio file. I think it's a great tool.
Okay, so Pride Desktop. So Dan, Ramirez, Jim, my team over here, they're going to introduce you to this term called BDI, if you haven't heard of it already. It's a new technology, and it's really an outstanding thing for students as well as you, because it allows you to get specialized software from pretty much anywhere in the world. So Jim is going to explain that to you further.
Hello, everybody. I'm here just to talk to you about a new service that the university has made available to students and employees this semester. It's called Pride Desktop. It's based on BDI, which is Virtual Desktop Environment. This allows students and employees to run pretty much any software that they can get in the computer labs on campus on their own device. Software such as GIS, ArcGIS, SPSS, Microsoft Project are all now accessible to students on any device. All they need to do is install a small piece of software on their computer, their phone, their tablet, their Chrome OS device, and they'll be able to access this software from pretty much anywhere in the world, 24/7. It really is a great service. We are seeing a lot more students arriving on campus with different types of devices, Chromebooks, iOS devices such as iPads, and Android tablets, and they expect to be able to do whatever they need to be able to do for class. And if an instructor decides that they need to be able to run, say, Excel or SPSS on their device. They'd have to come to a lab if they didn't have this type of technology. So this allows them to install a small client on their device and connect to our virtual desktop environment and run that software pretty much any time. Anywhere they have an internet connection, any time of the day. There are some limitations. I mean, if you're connecting from your cell phone on a cellular network, the performance isn't going to be that great, but really all that's going on is that you're interacting with a computer, a virtual computer, and it's sending you updates. So you can run SPSS on a device that wouldn't necessarily be able to have a horsepower to do something like that. All right, well, we're going to introduce or show you all that on a number of different devices when we have our breakout to it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And just to add a little thing there with software licensing, Adobe is our biggest issue when it comes to VDI and software licensing. So as Jim mentioned, we have a lot of software that does operate in VDI, but we encourage you to come to us and talk to us about specific licensing related to it if you're interested in using it. And in some cases, we may not have it part of the load and we can add it, or it might cost us a few extra dollars to do so. So, like I said, all of these technologies are available. Some have a cost to them, some don't, but we work very, very hard to get you what you need. So I just wanted to add that there. I guess we're on to other realities. So this is learning in other realities. And this is our AR/VR section. And we have Tom Jennings. We also have Alex and Deanna, who really have put a lot of work into this new technology for us. And I'm proud to say at Hofstra, we are basically the cutting edge of this technology. And there's, I think, a whole world ahead in AR/VR. And we just want to be on the front of it. So we encourage you also to come and work with us if you just have an idea, because we're kind of learning ourselves as we go. So this is what we have so far. And like I said, we're definitely interested in advancing this technology.
Thank you. I'm going to test my dexterity here, building 3 things at the same time. So, everybody in this room, who here has used AR in any capacity? VR in any capacity? Not sure what they even are? Don't want to admit, that's fine too. So that's what we're going to do today is we're going to, who has an AR or VR device with them or at home? Some of you, a couple of you? Probably more than you think, because your cell phone is a perfectly functional augmented reality and virtual reality component. And I'm going to talk about the virtual reality component, and then I'm going to hand it off to Alex, and he's going to talk about the augmented reality component. So, virtual reality means learning in an immersed environment. And so, if you take one of these headsets and you put them on your face, you don't see other people in the room, you don't see what's going on around you here. You only see this digital created space. And that space could be a program, an app, a video. And so for gaming, it's become very popular. A lot of documentarians are starting to make these really immersive video experiences. And they have this sort of emotional potency that even a really well-developed documentary can have. So they have these really interesting and unique capabilities to capture people's imagination and attention. So when you come, hopefully, and play around with some of this stuff and talk to us, what I hope you walk away with and think about is if you could take your class anywhere or show your students anything, where would you take them or what would you show them? So I don't want to talk too much about the specifics of the technologies, but we can explain each one in detail. But we have different tiers and levels of capability. So this is a Google Cardboard. It costs like $5 or $6. You could probably get it at Target or Walmart. You put your cell phone in this, put it on your face, you have a VR device. So that's something that you can play around with, and you can buy at home. You can download apps, and like I said, 360 videos that the Kaltura team mentioned before. You can watch those on your phone or on a computer, and you can use these experiences. You can also use AR, VR for research and for teaching. So as a research example, Professor G. Spernhardt here at Hofstra has gotten a lot of press recently for working with the EdTech team and developing this hurricane simulator. And so he's collecting data and research on people's, how they react and affect to being in a hurricane by making this simulated hurricane experiment. So if anyone's interested in checking that out, that's one of the options we have over here. You can use it for teaching in various capacities. We have a chemistry app that you can play around with over here. This video that's moving right now is a picture of Google Tilt Brush, which is a painting app in 3 dimensions. And there's no way that I can really articulate what it feels like to experience this, so you have to come try it. Because you can paint, but you can paint with depth. So you can walk around, you can walk into your painting, you can move around, you can really experience it in a new way. This last video clip that I'm going to show you is of their Matterport camera, which is a new camera that the university just purchased, which takes 360 pictures with depth. So you can set this camera into a room and move it around, and it will actually capture imagery with depth. And so we're going to be working with a web team who's been working on a Hofstra app that catalogs virtual reality outdoor spaces on campus to help them start to work on indoor spaces on campus. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex and talk about, okay.
So Tom just explained that in virtual reality, you are totally immersed, right? And that has a lot of pluses in it. It also has some drawbacks because it means you are totally isolated from the environment you're in. Augmented reality is the other side of that coin. You are going to see virtual content, but it's going to be overlaid in your actual environment. Probably the most popular example in the past few years has been Pokemon Go. So if you don't know what that is, just ask anyone under 10 in your family, and you can certainly know. And it's interesting because it's gotten press for being not just engaging, but engaging to the point where people put themselves in danger because they don't realize where they are, right? If you remember from 10 years ago, there'd be videos of people, it was a big deal that people were looking at their phones and not watching where they were going and falling in fountains at the mall or whatever. It's the same thing, but of course, that shows you how potent it is. So VR has its potency, and AR has a different version of it. So the question that we pose to you is how, after seeing what it can do, how can you apply this to your curriculum? How can we help you do that? Because sometimes it's obvious, but other times it really requires us to sit down and just talk about your syllabus, talk about your experiences with your students for as long as you've been teaching, and suddenly a light goes off. And we figure out what's the best way to implement your idea and to use the technology that we have at our disposal to make, to add some level of engagement that is just not possible without these kinds of technologies. This, so remember Tom was pointing out this kind of scale of most approachable to will be flat out most expensive, right? At the most approachable level is everybody already has a phone. Phones provide augmented experiences just right now. So we can all pull out our phones and install free apps. This is the Google Translate app, which we have set up here, and we'll show you, and we'll show you in 2 seconds how to install it on your phone if you don't have it. I think the first time anybody actually sees this in real life, it's that science fiction moment where you've seen this in a movie probably 30 years ago, and now it's real. You can translate dozens of languages. You can translate from actual physical signs. You can translate anything that's written, and it's giving you a translation to whatever language you prefer. Interesting point, and I think this is certainly an undercurrent of everything we're offering. Just as Laura had said, we are at the beginning stages of this in the world, right? Every university, every company, we're trying to find our footing. So it's an experiment, and we invite you to work with us and figure out what might be best for your classes. But we have kind of an amusing set of images of foreign languages. You'll see that even a multi-billion-dollar company like Google can't get it 100% all the time. So just think through as you see this. Maybe obviously languages might not be appropriate for what you're doing. Well, what other kinds of interactive experiences could your students benefit from by having something as simple as a phone, and that phone is looking at something in the real world and then providing some sort of contextual information. On the other end of the spectrum, which we'd also like to show you, is Microsoft's flagship augmented reality product called the HoloLens. You can see this gentleman is wearing it and he's looking at something that doesn't exist, but it exists in his view in the real world. So he can manipulate this. He can check the dimensions of the turbine. He can, depending on what kind of app he's using, he can be productive in an engineering sense, in a mathematical sense, in a graphic sense, and share that experience with others, upload this to the cloud, and have a kind of productive experience that you absolutely cannot on a two-dimensional computer monitor. This is also a HoloLens. This shows you the basic interface, which we'd like you to try over here if you have a chance after our presentation. You can move your windows around in virtual space. If you leave that window, see that window that he's placing right there, if you go out of this room and you come back, it will still be there. So just imagine the opportunities that you have for leaving content in a physical space that can add context for your students based on your curriculum. It's just not possible any other way. This is a more commercial example, probably, of what augmented reality can do. And this, again, can be as simple as being on your phone, or it could be in an advanced headset like HoloLens. That little menu on the right is showing you context-based, and in this case, geographically or GPS-based information. Depending on where you are, depending on what you're looking at, you will get information that provides context and just in-depth information that you can scroll through depending on the device you're using. You may be able to stare at it and it will do something. You may be able to click it in thin air and it will do something for you. How can you apply this to the kinds of lessons that you usually incorporate into your courses? So we will, as the Kaltura team mentioned about 360 videos, we have several 360 cameras, and we'd like you to loan them out. We'd like to show you how to use them. We also can show you how to get them because they're not very expensive. They are simply, they look kind of like cameras, just with two lenses, and each lens takes half the room, and the software merges it together, and you can be a photo, it can be video. The great thing about this is once you've taken the footage, you can annotate it, and we have some options that we'll show you for how you can add context that way. And Kaltura can understand it, something as simple as Google Cardboard can understand it. The approachability is very low, right? Meaning you don't require a lot of hardware to do this in any student that comes with a phone, or something as simple as a phone from 5 years ago will be able to view this information. So our process, what we want to do is we want to consult with you, because there's just so much to do here. There's so many directions to go in, and there is no one straight path. And that's a good thing, because it means the world is wide open. Come to our space. So our space will be, our space has been renovated in 250 McEwen. We have a nice break room seating area where we have all this equipment set up. We want you to come anytime. You don't have to make an appointment, but if you please do, if you prefer. Our team will meet with you. We'll talk through all the options. You bring your ideas, you bring your problems, anything that you think, some sort of issues you're trying to solve, or something you're trying to, some advanced level of enrichment that you've heard about somewhere else. We will figure out how to make it happen. It may exist already. There may be existing content that we can help you acquire, and maybe make some slight customizations that would be more suitable to your course. Or, of course, we're very eager to create original content. And it's a learning process for all of us, but we rely we rely on you to tell us where we should be putting our energies. So we can start creating content, but unless we know that one or more of you are eagerly interested in using it in your courses, we're wasting our time. So we want you to be the impetus for anything that we spend a significant amount of time on. Thank you.
Okay, so just to bounce off of what Alex said, another important thing that we do in EdTech is we support faculty in their use of technology for research. So one example, we just met with Dean Holly Sire, our faculty, and they are doing this really neat project where they're doing telemedicine with children in an orphanage in Africa. And just a beautiful project, and we are working with her to set up the technologies, everything from data storage, because you're going to be videotaping the children, so we're talking terabytes of storage somewhere, and also setting up the connectivity one example of the many things that we do with faculty. So I encourage you, if you have a research idea, and come talk to us ahead of time, because sometimes you'll dig into things and realize, oh, I need a server, or I need space, so what do I do? So we can help you with those issues right up front before you get too deeply into it. There we go. Okay, so we are, part of our initiative with EdTech is really to get the word out about us. We've kind of created, if you will, a promotional campaign, and we have brochures on the table that help you find us. And you can grab one of those, and we have all of our phone numbers on there, and kind of a little brief description of what we do. There's a couple people in the room you haven't heard from. One is Kevin Cooper in the back, just waved in the blue shirt, and he runs our repair center. So Kevin does a tremendous job. You can bring your products in, your iPhone products and such that need repair, and he has a whole shop in there. We also, Jim and Dan Ramirez, they run our student help desk, and all the associate questions that come into there, to really help students succeed. And Joe Zona and Rose also run our learning support for students. So we have a very student-focused angle to what we do as well. And our learning support, that's really there to help support you. So if you want to put a piece of technology into the classroom, we will come into the classroom and show your students how to use that technology so you don't have to do it. In addition, we have labs and student tutors that are there to work with the students hands-on. So again, we take on the work of teaching the students the technology for their projects, so you don't have to take away from your curriculum in the classroom. Okay, so the other part of what we did is we created a brand new EdTech website. So it's edtech.hofstra.edu. And this basically, we're going to demo this, and I think Luke, you're doing one piece of it. Okay, yeah. So the website, I think Alex, you're going to talk about the website, and this is kind of really another way for us to kind of push information out, let you know what we're doing, what other faculty are doing, what events are going on, etc. And then we also created an EdTech app, which Luke is going to show you. And one of our members right now is sick, Bobby Katami, but he also works very diligently, to get this app up and running over the summer. And again, it's kind of a one-stop hit, like reach us, whenever you need help or in a state of desperation or just want to call us. So these two guys are going to explain what this is about.
So as a website, there's a lot of content that we're adding. It's throughout the next semester, we're relying on their feedback again. So please let us know the kinds of information you'd like to see. We are in the process now of making sure that all our events for each semester are listed here. You can register for the events, just let us know that you would like to come. We are providing, our focus now is to provide context to news in higher ed, the things that are happening on campus, to keep you alert for any hardware or software issues, new pedagogical strategies, instructional technologies that you may not be aware of, to tell you all about our services. So there's never a question of whether we can help you. Of course, we always want to help you, and we want you to know currently to the extent that we can. So this way you can come to us with specific questions based on your curriculum. You'll know where we all stand. And of course, all our contact information is here. But as you browse through the site in the next few days, if you say, you know what, it would be great if you had this section, please tell us that. That's what we want. We're more than happy to customize this. This is your site, right? We're just providing you we're just coding it for you, basically. So please tell us what kind of content you would like on it, and that's exactly what we'll do for you. Here's Luke to talk about the app.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so definitely we have a section in the Hofstra app. How many of you have downloaded or used the app before? The Hofstra app. Okay, so for those of you that haven't had an opportunity to do it, this will be a great chance for you to see our section, the EdTech section right here of the app, okay, which is part of the Hofstra app. And basically the goal with this is to align ourselves with the Hofstra website to make sure we're providing some targeted information for events, for announcements, and for getting help, right? How many of you have had an issue in a classroom and you needed help like right away, right? Projector not working and stuff like that. So we have the ability for you to actually facilitate that phone call through the app. That would be the next screen here. So the app, pretty much right now, this is pretty much the first go around for us of this section. So when you download the Hofstra app, you'll see our EdTech section of the app. And again, basically, we're really focused on letting you know where we are, all right? Our contact information, events that are happening, and most importantly, the Get Help Now button, right? So when you click on that, that will basically allow faculty to call directly for any issues that you're having, and also allows students as well to get help now for anything that they may be having. We're trying to eliminate any sort of going through like a call me or anything. This will go directly, and we will do our best to get to you and help you with the things that you need. So this is sort of the direction that we want to go with on the app and the website as well. And the content will, of course, be very similar. That was part of the goal with this. So I think this would be a great way for you to definitely get in touch with us. And to piggyback off of Alex's explanation on augmented reality, you can use the card here. You can use your camera to take a picture of the QR code, and it will take you directly to the Hofstra app. So already using augmented reality with QR codes. And I think that's pretty much it with the app. And of course, we have some other avenues on getting in touch with us. Use social media, etc. Just to say how great we're doing, and anyway. So these are the ways that we can get in touch with you, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So at this point, just to recap, we're going to break up in a minute and let you go explore on your own. Before we do that, I'm not sure, Perry, you mentioned the green screen hanging behind the wall over there, but we have a green screen which is kind of bundled with our Kaltura video. So Kaltura is super easy, quick to use. We have a little more advanced video technology, which is around the bend, and a green screen is basically, you can create any image behind you when you sit in front of it. So we set up kind of a little section where you can go and get your picture taken, and we will print it for you, so you have a little takeaway going out the door. And it's kind of a fun thing to do, and just gives you a little peek in the box of what a screen can look like on camera. So I encourage you to head over there, it's fun. Before we set you free, one of my students, Haruka, is here, and he's going to assist me for a minute. And we really just, we want to know, if you could raise your hand, what most interested you today? What do you think you could potentially use in your teaching, or would like to use in your teaching?
So the video quiz, I'd love to see that, by the way. I have some conceptual understanding what it might be, but it sounds like something I can really use. So maybe you could show us a demonstration.
Okay, that's great.
The video quiz, yeah.
See what's caught on. Anybody else? Okay.
I'm interested in using the virtual reality or augmented reality for my classes. It seems like a very fascinating future of technology and education. Very fascinating.
Okay. Yeah, you're in the library. So Bill works in the library, and if you're in the humanities or do any work with museums or art, and you can really completely immerse yourself in this type of technology and have students walk through buildings and different environments. I think they were talking about Greek and Roman history, and yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question here. Because I'm more occupational therapy, and a lot of times I
basically a computer webcam in front of you. You just have to have access to Blackboard. That's the easiest way. There's a little Blackboard installer that we can walk you through. It's a quick setup. And you basically sit there, you click a button, and it records you using your computer camera, and then it instantly uploads right to Blackboard. There are also some other built-in features, so you can overlay PowerPoints, so it could have you talking in the corner, overlaying a PowerPoint, and you can also annotate that PowerPoint as well. So there are a variety of tools within Kaltura that kind of spice up, your everyday PowerPoint lectures that you may post like in a static form. You're right, video editing does take a long time, but this tool does not require video editing. So it is literally record your face, you can create a beautiful scenery behind you, and you just record and boom, it goes right into Blackboard, no editing. I think, Paul, that it has the ability to edit if you make a mistake and you cut things out with Kaltura.
Trim the edges.
You can trim the edges, okay.
And does that mean that LinkedIn for the video takes, that means that we like narrow into the info that we want to see, like where we put the things down, we have to do mobilization of the scapular, like this is the info that they have to do.
Right, and Carrie, do you want to feel us?
I love all of these ideas. This is exactly what we hoped to hear at all of our faculty members at these moments. Yes, she definitely had heard about this. The AR/VR guides would be exactly what we're going to talk to you about, manipulating objects in space. That's exactly what that's all about. Do I need to project my voice for it? So what I'm saying is that AR/VR team of Tom, Alex, and Deanna, they would be able to talk about manipulating objects in space, just the way that we're talking about. But our Kaltura videos allow you to kind of do an immediate translation of your ideas. So if you're in a space, you're in a field class, and you find a moment that's very teachable and you want to share it with your students, you're literally grabbing your phone or computer or something like that, recording that moment and sharing it out easily. For instance, Claudia Caprello uses this as her video announcements tool that can share information quickly and easily out to her students without any real production value. But that manipulative objects and the zooming in, that requires a little bit more finesse and a little bit heavier hand with the software department. And the AR/VR guys and their video team in general, and then the right ones to talk to about that.
Yes.
Is Kaltura basically replacing VoiceThread eventually? And the other question I have, somewhat related. I read recently that 72%, especially of undergrads, are going to be watching your lesson on this. Not, the concept, and I put it in one meeting, that people are going to be sitting at their PC or even huge Mac on their desk. It's like taking a book and nailing it to the desk and making you read it at the desk. Nobody does it. You pick the book up, you pick it up and move. How much can this handle versus the desktop? First, Kaltura, VoiceThread.
So I had an answer, but I'm going to turn to our video guys here. Did you want to take this one, Rose?
Well, I would do the VoiceThread and VoiceThread and Kaltura have two different functionalities. VoiceThread does have that functionality with the students and you can communicate within it, and Kaltura does not. So you would still need the VoiceThread if you wanted to continue to, no, you keep them separate. We wouldn't replace one with the other because they have a different set of, they have some things that are similar, but they have two different pieces.
Augmenting your PowerPoints.
Yeah, no, you could use either or for that, but the VoiceThread has that additional communication piece that Kaltura does not have. But then you guys can remember that. The video?
Okay, one more.
Do you want me to address the video?
Yeah, Morgan's
So, real quick explanation. Yes, every students are accessing things on smaller, more mobile devices more frequently and more regularly. And there are going to be times when you as a professor are going to want to strongly encourage them to interact with your material on a bigger device, and they're concentrating, they're paying more attention, and they can read, especially heavy text. It's difficult to skim through and get the same thing out of it as you would on another device. But for a lot of these things, these are making it easier for them to access things. And if they can get the same experience, there's no reason why they shouldn't be doing that. And these tools are designed to be mobile friendly and also accessibility friendly. So Kaltura has captioning abilities so that you can read text along with while you're watching them, and it will auto caption it to varying degrees of quality based on how well its algorithms would work, but you can always go back in and edit them to make them better. So they're meant to work on mobile devices also. So your students will be able to access these things on mobile devices. They'll be able to watch the same videos, record to voice thread, similarly to how they would be doing it on a laptop or a desktop PC.
Okay, anybody else? We have one more giveaway. So anybody else see anything that they'd like to do innovative? Yes.
So I was going to ask individually, but I'll ask publicly now. So for field trips, the problem that I have with field trips with classes that are a little bit bigger is that we go into, let's say, a museum, which we're supposed to let them know in advance that we're going if we're a larger group, but I don't. So I want to speak to the students, but I can't because I don't want to project my voice in a quiet space. So how would it be possible for me to have data points for certain parts of the museum? Do I take the picture in advance and then feed it to AV and then they load it onto their phone? How would that work so that they could have that information and then I wouldn't have to say anything? They walk into the Met, they look at something, and then what I want them to know is already on there.
So there's no one answer to that. There are a lot of options, and what we would need to do is talk about specifically what kind of content you would like to add. So we'll call that augmented, right? How are you augmenting what they're seeing? There is a lot of existing content. So of course, for a major institution, you're going to have stuff that's already there. They probably have an app that does a lot of that, and we would look into that and see if it's customizable in any way. Your question about going there and doing it yourself, like A+, if you would be willing to put that effort in, because that, of course, will produce a superior product, because then you'll be able to customize it exactly as you want. And if you were to provide us that content, we would figure out the best way in terms of an interface to provide to the students. I'll just also make a point that there are very low-tech ways that you can do that, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in a headset or augmented in this sense. But please come to our space and meet with us, and let's talk through it, because there's definitely a way to get exactly what you're talking about, but it may not look like the way either of us are thinking of it right now.
Well, when you had that one shot of the people in the street,
Yeah.
I mean, that's different because we're using GPS, but that's what I would like them to see. I would like them to see something, and then have my information that relates to that one painting or sculpture.
Okay, so if you are willing to be a guinea pig for us, we would love to produce that. We have not made anything at that level yet, but it is absolutely possible, and that's
So I provide you with the picture. Right?
And we would talk about, well, so the student is looking at this, what happens? And then it gets more complicated than you would think until you actually sit down. And it's an interesting and fulfilling challenge, but then you start to have to think, okay, in terms of navigation, how do they get back to this page? When they do this, what happens how do you make the user experience the best it possibly can be? So that's something, you bring your excellent teaching skills, we figure out how to translate that in technology.
Okay, so at this point, I want you to have enough time to go and explore, and we're all around the room, and all the technologists and designers are here, so if you have questions, just bring them to the table. So I encourage you to grab some more food, grab a drink, and then go grab